Masechet Bekhorot, page 12, we're going by the Mishnah, and God willing, Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to finish the first parak, beautiful chapter 1 of Tractate Bekhorot. The subject of substitution, taking a value of firstborn donkey and substitute with the lamb, that's the core subject of our past several days discussions. We learned based on our Torah, the substitute is a lamb, but there are circumstances that cannot be, such as a situation that the treifa, which is sometimes they check the firstborn donkey and it turns out that in a period of 12 months is not going to make it, and similar situations. It's a well-known psak halacha of the late Rabbi Yashiv. They brought him before ceremony of Peter Chamor, that they want to substitute with the regular lamb. It was the issue of treifa, and in that case Rabbi Yashiv allows it. But as you see soon, since donkey have kedushat Bekhorot, the firstborn special sanctity, so there are situations that people try to substitute not just the regular lamb or goat, but can be others. Lo en podim lo be'egel velo bechaya. The Mishnah said that one may not redeem a firstborn donkey neither with a calf nor with undomesticated animal. Lo bashchuta velo batreifa, nor with an undomesticated animal, nor with a slaughter animal. Velo bekil'aim velo bakoi, and not with a hybrid of sheep and a goat, nor with a koi. It was explained many times that koi, there are few ideas. Some say that it's a mixture of domesticated and undomesticated animal. Some say that it's a rare wild animal, but anyway, it's an animal with regard to which it's uncertain whether it's domesticated or undomesticated animal. Rabbi Eliezer matir bekilayim mipnei shu useh. Rabbi Eliezer deems it permit when it's come to a donkey with a hybrid of a sheep and a goat, because it's a lamb. That hybrid has the status of a lamb. Ve'oser bekoi, but he is prohibit redeeming with the koi. Mipnei shu safek, as we said, because it's ambiguous, it's uncertain if it's a domesticated or undomesticated animal. Netano la Kohen, if one gave the firstborn donkey to the Kohen. En ha-Kohen rashay lekaymo ad sheyafrish se tachtav. The Kohen may not keep it unless first designates a lamb instead for redemption. Matnitin money, according to which opinion the Mishnah follow, ben bag here. So that's follow ben bag. It's very little is known about the Tana. There are a few statements. You remember we studied in Pirkei Avot chapter 5. Some believe that he was a Tana. Rabbi Yochanan ben bag. Others maintain that there were two sages with the name ben bag. There is another opinion in Tosefta in Chagiga page 9 that said that ben bag was not a real name, but an allusion to his being a convert. But anyway, ben bag omer demar kan se v'nemar lehalan se. It's written the word lamb both in Exodus 13, in Exodus 12. מה להלן פרט לכל השמות הללו, אף כאן פרט לכל השמות הללו. Just as there, when it's come to Pesach, to Paschal offering, the Torah excludes all these names, which is all these types of animal listed in the Mishnah, from being fit for offering as a Paschal offering. So to here, with regard to the redemption of the firstborn donkey, the Torah excludes all of these names. So the Gemara challenged that, and they said, מה להלן זכר תמים ובן שנה, אף כאן זכר תמים ובן שנה. If the halacha derive from the Paschal offering, then perhaps that just as the Paschal offering must be a lamb that is male, unblemished, and it's a first year, which based on Exodus chapter 12. So here too, the lamb must be male, unblemished, and the first year. Talmud lomar tifde. Tifde riba. So the verse states you shall redeem twice, both in Exodus 13 and Exodus 34. So the repetition serves to include female lambs, blemish lambs, and the lambs that are beyond their first year. Here the Gemara asks, if you have this repetition, you shall redeem twice, so you include then even all of these type of animals that are listed in the Mishnah also should be included. So the Gemara asks, the Gemara answer, what's the purpose by having this verbal analogy of lamb between the firstborn donkey and the Pesach offering? Ibayalu, ma'u livdod beben pkua. Can we redeem the firstborn donkey with the lamb that was removed alive from its mother womb after the mother was ritually slaughtered? We learned, if you remember in the past, the whole ben pkua. So now the Gemara expand and elaborate on this question. According to Rabbi Meir, it should not be an issue. Why? Because Rabbi Meir hold that ben pkua requires a ritual, slaughter, so it's considered full-fledged lamb. So the question is, you have an issue according to our sages. The Amr, because they said, shchitat imo metaharto, by merely slaughter the mother, that renders the fetus permitted for consumption. So it's considered part of the mother, which was already slaughtered. So the question is, kevisrad bedikula dami. So you consider the meat that is placed in the pot, which is, if it had been slaughtered, in which is included in the prohibition against redeeming a firstborn donkey with slaughtered animal, or dilma kevan dehashta mi haraet ve'azel sekarin bei. Or you can say that since now, in any event, it runs alone, we call it a lamb. So the Gemara recite a dispute when it's come to this. Mar Zutra amar en podim veRav Ashi amar podim. Mar Zutra said you cannot do it, you may not redeem the firstborn donkey with the ben pkua, and Rav Ashi said you may redeem it. Amar leRav Ashi leMar Zutra mai da'atech deyalaft mi Pesach. You derive this halachot of a firstborn donkey from the halachot of Paschal offering, and ben pkua is unfit for offering as a Paschal offering. So, left mi Pesach. So, what's the reason for your view? If you derive the halacha of redeeming a firstborn donkey from what? From Paschal offering, and a ben pkua is unfit for sacrifice as a Paschal offering. Just the same way as there, when it's come to the Paschal offering, it must be male, unblemished, and first year. So here too, it has to be male, unblemished, in its first year. Tifde riba. Mar Zutra responded and he said the repetition of the term you shall redeem twice included a lamb that it's not male, unblemished, and on its first year. So the Gemara, Rav Ashi asked him, tifde riba afilu ben pkua nami. If the repetition of the term you should redeem included additional type of lambs, so even a ben pkua is included. Im ken se maya hanili. So if so, what the purpose that the verbal analogy of lamb between the firstborn donkey and Paschal offering serve? It must be that the term you shall redeem does not serve to include those animals. How about when if you redeem it, a firstborn donkey with a lamb whose parents are both sheep, but is resembles another animal such as a goat. אליבא דרבי אליעזר לא תיבא לך, השתא בכיליים פרקינן בבנדמי מבעיה. If you allow a hybrid of goat and a sheep, so for sure you allow something that resemble. So it's necessary to state that one may redeem it with it. כי תיבא לך, the issue is אליבא דרבנן, according to the sages, בחילה ומודלו פרקינן, בנדבה פרקינן ולא דין מלושנה. You say that one does not redeem it with a hybrid of a goat or a sheep, but one does redeem it with a lamb that resemble of another animal, or you say that there's no difference between them. Tashma, the Gemara suggests, פרה שילדה מין עז אין פודים. Cow that gave birth to a goat of sort, one may not redeem the firstborn donkey with a goat of sort. הרחל שילדה מן עז פודים. But when it's come to U that gave birth to sort of goat, one may redeem it with it. Mani, according to whose opinion the Braita hold, Ilem Rabbi Eliezer habikilaim name markinan. If you follow Rabbi Eliezer, he hold that even in the hybrid of a sheep and goat, and it's ruling it's not necessary. You have to say that to follow the view of the sages, including all of them. So basically, it's not the opinion of the sages, indicating that they hold that one may redeem a firstborn donkey with a lamb that resembles another animal. So the Gemara said, no. Rolam Rabbi Eliezer, follow the view of Rabbi Eliezer. He gufa kamashmelan, and this teaches the halacha itself, the parash yalda min ezen podim, that if you have a situation that the cow gave birth to a goat of sort, which is where the offspring has the appearance of a goat, so you don't redeem it. Latema zil abatrei didei, you do not say that the halacha should follow the appearance of the offspring itself. V'hai ez me'alyahu, and therefore this offspring is a full-fledged goat and should be suitable for redeeming a firstborn donkey. Elazil batarimei, rather follow its mother. V'hai egelu, and this offspring is treated as a calf, which is not suitable for redeeming a firstborn donkey. Tashma, come and hear a resolution from a Braita. The Tanei Rabba Bar Shmuel, that Rabba Bar Shmuel teaches. Ezeu kilaim, what's considered an animal that is hybrid? Rachel she'yalda min ez ve'aviv se. If you have a U that gave birth to a goat of sort, and the father of the offspring is a lamb. Aviv se kilaim hu, is the father is a lamb, is the offspring a hybrid? Nidmehu, it's animal that resembles an animal of another type. Ela zehu dame lechilaim deshavyu rabanan ki kilaim. What is the animal to a hybrid that the rabbis rendered it tantamount to a hybrid, which is unsuitable for redeeming? It is Rachel she'yalda min ez ve'aviv se. It is an ur that gave birth to a goat of sorts, and its father is a lamb. Lemai, to what halacha is the Braita referring? Ile Kodashim, if you talk about sacrificial animal, to the fact that such an animal is unfit for sacrifices and offering, why does the Braita derive this status from a hybrid? From the same verse where it's derived that Torah excludes a hybrid as an offering, one can derive that it also excludes an animal that resembles an animal of another type. So we learn in the Braita, they said in Leviticus chapter 22 verse 27, a bull or a lamb, so that basically excluded a hybrid, or a goat, prat lenidme, it's excluding an animal that resembles an animal of another type. Ilevcho, if the halacha is referring to a firstborn. And we derive from that an animal that resembles an animal of another type does not have firstborn status. Ach bechor sho amar Rachmana. The Torah said in Book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 17, but the firstborn of an ox, which you have here an indication that there is a firstborn status, ad sheyesh husho ubchorosho, only if it is an ox, and its firstborn is an ox, but not when the offspring resembles an animal of another type. Ela lema'aser, but it derived from this verbal analogy, the word under, which states about the sacrificial animal in Leviticus 22, verse 27, tachat, under, mikodashim gamar. You derive it from the consecrated animal, that the derivative is when it's come to animal type. So here you have to say that the brighter referring to the lamb that it's used to redeem a firstborn donkey, and we derive from that when you have a lamb that resembles an animal of another type is unfit for use as a redemption. So Gemara said, no, the brighter is referring to halacha of animal type. Le'olam lema'aser. Uchegon, and the situation is where the animal that resembles an animal of another type, כגון שיש בו מקצת סימנים, they have some characteristic of the mother. So it was necessary for the Braita to teach that such an animal is not included in the animal type. מהו דתימה העברה מבכור גמר. You can say that it's derived toward the verbal analogy from the term passing, stated with regard to animal types in Leviticus 27, and passing stated the firstborn animal in Exodus 13, verse 12. So the same way as an animal with some characteristic of its mother does have the firstborn status, as we learn. We're going to learn more on page 16b. The same way as animal should be included in the obligation of animal type. So Kamash Melan, let's come and learn tachat mikodashim gamar, because it's written under when it's come to the sacrificial animal, the word under is stated in the context of animal type, that an animal that have some characteristics of the mother is unfit for animal type. The status of such a lamb with regard to redeeming a firstborn donkey may not be proven from the Braita. The dilemma was raised before our sages. Can one redeem a firstborn donkey with disqualified consecrated animal that were redeemed? It is forbidden to shear or work with such animal, so that this principle of the prohibition does not take effect where another prohibition already exists. Apply here. According to Rabbi Shimon, it's not an issue. Since he said that it's permitted to derive benefit from a firstborn donkey. Chulinu, it's non-consecrated, and is no forbidden status is transferred to the redemption lamb. When we have the dilemma, according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says that it is prohibited to derive benefit from a firstborn donkey. What is the halacha? As we learned several times, since it's prohibited to derive benefit, so you said here that the prohibition does not take effect where another prohibition already exists, which is when he redeems with the lamb, the forbidden status of the donkey must be able to be transferred to the lamb, which cannot occur in the case of disqualified consecrated lamb. Or dilma, or you can say, kivan de lo tafes pidyono, since it's not transferred to its object of redemption, because the lamb cannot transfer. as deriving benefit from the lamb is permitted, the act of redemption should be seen as merely afku'ei isura be'almau, is just merely an abrogation of the donkey's forbidden status. In other words, the forbidden status is not a transfer to the lamb, and consequently the principle that the prohibition does not take effect where another prohibition already exists does not apply. Amar Rav Mari Breder Rav Kahana, Mi zutar mai dichtiv behu katzvi v'chayal, is that which is written with regard to disqualified consecrated animal insignificant? The Torah states that their status is like the gazelle and like the hart. That's Deuteronomy 12 verse 15. Matzvi ve'ayal ein podim, af psulei hamukdashim ein podim. Just as one may not redeem a firstborn donkey with a gazelle or a hart, so too one may not redeem a firstborn donkey with disqualified consecrated animals. So the Gemara comments, Hashta de atet lehache. Now that you arrive to this explanation, 12b Rabbi Shimon Nami. So even according to Rabbi Shimon, so one cannot redeem a firstborn donkey with disqualified consecrated animal. So therefore, tzvi ve'ayal ktiv biu, because if you go by the pasuk in Deuteronomy 12 verse 15, it said like the gazelle and like the hart. So because the gazelle and the hart cannot be used for redemption, the same way as disqualified consecrated animal cannot be used for redemption. Now the fourth suffix and the last one. Ibayu le'uma lifdot bivheimat shvi'it. What's the halakha when it's come to redeeming a firstborn donkey with an animal that was purchased with produce of the sabbatical year, which caused the sanctity of the produce to be transferred to the animal? ודאי לא תיבא אלך לאכילה מרחמנה ולא לסחורה. It's definitely you should not have an issue, because the Torah said that it should be for the consumption but not for commerce. Rather, ki tibא אלך safek, the donkey with uncertain firstborn status. ואליבא דרבי שמעון לא תיבא אלך, and according to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, you should not raise a dilemma. The late lesafek, as it does not hold that the redemption is necessary in the case of a donkey with uncertain firstborn status. Ki tibא elach, the issue is aliba de Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda hold that in such a case the owner of the donkey must designate a lamb for its redemption in order to abrogate his forbidden status. However, he is not required to give it to a Kohen. Mai, what's exactly the halakha? כיוון דמפריש תלב הוא לעצמו לאוכלה קרינה בי, since he designates a lamb and it's his, we call this act of redemption for consumption, and is not considered commerce if he does not give it to the Kohen in exchange for his donkey. או דילמה כיוון דחמד לא מפקע איסורי למשתנה כסחורה דמה. You can say, since as long as the lamb does not abrogate the forbidden status of the firstborn donkey, it is not permitted to derive benefit from the donkey. So when the owner designates the lamb as the replacement of the donkey, it is tantamount to engaging in commerce with it. Tashma d'Amar Rav Chizda b'mat shvi'it en podim ba et avadai, aval podim ba et hasafek. He said one can redeem a donkey with a definite firstborn status, with an animal that was purchased with produce of the sabbatical year, but one may redeem a donkey with uncertain firstborn status with it. So, and Rav Chizda says, Rav Chizda be'emat shvi'it, an animal that was purchased with produce of shvi'it, of the sabbatical year, p'tura min ha'bechora v'chayavet matnot, is exempt from the offspring being counted as the firstborn. However, is obligated to have the gifts of the priesthood that taken from. So these are the gifts in which members of the priesthood are entitled when a non-sacred animal is slaughtered. Ptura mina bechora. Now the Gemara expanded that and explained that said it's exempt from the offspring being counted as a firstborn because leochla marachmana velo lisreifa. The Torah said for consumption but not for burning, and portions of a kosher firstborn animal are burned on the altar. V'chayevet matanot de leochla karinan bain. It's obligated to have gifts of the priesthood taken from it because we call this case for consumption as the Kohen eats them. Meitivei haochel mi'isat shvi'it ad shelo hurma chalata chayav mita. That's a well-known Mishnah in Tractate Shvi'it, chapter 9, Mishnah 9. One who eats from a door of produce of the sabbatical year prior to his portion of the door was given to the Kohanim, so is liable to receive a punishment of mita. Obviously it's at the hand of heaven, just like one who consumes any dough before challah is separated. So the Gemara asks, why? כיוון דילו מטמיה בת שריפה היא לא רחלה מרחמנה ולא לשריפה. Since if the dough becomes ritually impure after being separated as challah, it is subject to burning, and the Torah states for consumption lochla, but not for burning. So it's a very similar to Rav Chizda's claim that the firstborn animal that was purchased with produce of the sabbatical year is not subject to the obligation of the firstborn status. So the Gemara said, no, Shaneachar dichtiv ledorotechem. The Torah said in the book of Numbers, chapter 15, verse 22, for you throughout your future generation, which means that all dough, including that of produce of the sabbatical year, is subject to the mitzvah of challah. Tanya Nameache, it's also taught in the Braita. Minayin lo'ochel misat shvi'it al shelo hurma chalata shechayav mita. From where we derive that a person who consumes dough of produce of the sabbatical year prior to its challah is separate is liable to receive a punishment of mita bidei shamayim, in the hand of heaven, is derived from the verse ledorotechem, throughout the generation. You have here an indication the inclusion of the sabbatical year as well. By contrast, this idea is not used when it's come to a firstborn animal. So since portions of the kosher firstborn animal are burned on an altar, an animal that was purchased with produce of the sabbatical year is exempt from its offspring being counted a firstborn. So the Gemara challenges and said, Veligmar mina, and later Rav Chizda derived the halacha of challah, that such an animal is subject to its offspring being counted as a firstborn, and that the interpretation of for consumption but not for burning is not applied. So the Gemara explains, Hatam there with regard to challah, ikar le'achila, the primary purpose of the dough is for consumption. Hacha, so it's burned only if it becomes impure. But here, hacha, with regard to a firstborn animal, ikar lisrifa, the primary purpose of the portions that are consumed on the altar is for burning. The Mishnah teaches us, netano lekohen, if the owner gave the firstborn donkey itself to a Kohen, so the Kohen may keep it only after he designates a lamb in its stead for redemption. So if you follow this language, you have an indication that there is a concern lest the Kohen will be negligent in redeeming it. תנינא להד תנור רבנן, ישראל שהיה לו פטר חמור בתוך ביתו. You have a fellow, Israel, who has a firstborn donkey in a house. ואמר לו הכהן, תנה להו לי ואני אבדהו. The Kohen said, give it to me and I'll redeem it. הרי זה לא יתנו לו, אלא אם כן בדאו בפניו. It may not give the donkey to the Kohen unless the Kohen redeems it in his presence. אמר רב נחמן, אמר רבא בר אבוה, זאת אומרת, נחשדו הכהנים על פטרי חמורים. So he said that the Kohanim are suspect with regard to using a firstborn donkey without redemption. So the Gemara said, Pshita, that's obvious. That's exactly what the Braita states. So the Gemara explains of Nachman's statement is necessary. Where we have the presumption that it occasionally happened that the Kohen uses the firstborn donkey without redeeming it first. But in the case of ordinary Kohen, there is no concern for this. So therefore, Rav Nachman teaches us that there is a concern is relevant to every single Kohen. As a Kohen is suspect of granting himself permission to use the firstborn donkey without first redeeming it with the lamb, as in any case, the lamb will remain his. Mishnah Gdosha, and actually we're getting close to the end of the perek. This Mishnah dealing with a lamb that dies. Said, "Amafrish pidyon peter hamor vamet." One who designates a lamb for the redemption of the firstborn donkey, and the lamb dies. Rabbi Eliezer omer chayvim b'chayuto k'chamesh sla'im shel ben. Rabbi Eliezer said the owner bears financial responsibility and must give the Kohen another lamb in its place. It's like the case of 5 selah for redemption of the firstborn son, where if the money lost before one gives it to the Kohen, he must give to the Kohen another 5 selah. The sage said he's not responsible, not bear any financial responsibility. It's like the case of money designated for redemption of second tithe produce, where once the owner designates the money for redemption, the produce is de-sanctified. העיד רבי יהושע ורבי צדוק על פדיון פטר חמור שמת שאין כאן לכהן כלום. So that's what he testified, Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Tzadok, a lamb that designated for redemption of a firstborn donkey and that died, that the Kohen has nothing here. In such a case as a firstborn donkey has already redeemed, and the owner no longer bears financial responsibility for the dead lamb. That's basically the view of Chachamim. If after the lamb was designated, met Peter Chamor, the firstborn donkey died, Rabbi Eliezer omer yikaver umutar banato shel taleh. The donkey must be buried and the owner is permitted to derive benefit from the lamb. והחכמים צריך להיקבר וטלה לכהן. Sage said that it does not need to be buried and the lamb is given to the Kohen. אומר רב יוסף מאיתמד רבי אליעזר דכתיב אך פדות תפדה. It's written in the book of Numbers chapter 18 verse 15. Yet you shall redeem. So you derive from that a comparison between the two cases. מה בכור אדם חייב באחריותו? The same way as a regular firstborn son, the father bears financial responsibility to compensate for the 5 selah in the event of their loss. The same financial responsibility is upon the person when the firstborn non-kosher animal, the owner holds his responsibility in event of a loss. Needs to pay the Kohen. Same way as the firstborn is permitted to derive benefit from the woman, firstborn son, if he has not yet been redeemed. In the same way, is deriving benefit from the firstborn of the non-kosher animal should be permitted prior to the redemption, including shearing and walking in it. The whole idea of bury it, it's not because deriving benefit from it is prohibited. He said, no, yikaver ki b'chor adam, the same as the firstborn of human. El adam b'chor hu debay kvura, pashut lo bay kvura. An ordinary person obviously needs is not firstborn, does not require burial. That is certainly not correct. So therefore, no such a distinction should exist with regard to a donkey either. And furthermore, Eliezer clearly hold that deriving benefit from the firstborn donkey prior to redemption is forbidden. תניא מודה רבי אליעזר בישראל שיש לו ספק פטר חמור בתור ביתו, שמפריש עליו טלה והוא שלו. If you have a ambiguous and not clear situation when it's come to a donkey in the house where the firstborn is uncertain, so you need to designate a lamb. So designate the lamb in this case is necessary only to remove the prohibition against deriving benefit from the donkey. אלא אמר רבא אמר קרא, אך פדו תבדל לפדיה הקשתיו, ולא לדבר אחר. I've compared with regard to redemption, but not another matter. We learn in the Braita elsewhere, הערכים, valuations, the determination is based on the time of the vow, בשעתן ופדיון הבן, אחר 30 יום. The pidyon הבן, redeeming of the woman firstborn son, one must give the require such to a Kohen after the infant is 30 days old, אחר 30 יום. פדיון פטר חמור לאלתר, redeeming of firstborn donkey is performed immediately. ופדיון פטר חמור לאלתר, ורמיני אין בערכים פדיון הבן ובנזירות פטר חמור פחות מ-30. אז כמו עושה, הוא מוסיפין עד עולם, but one may add this amount forever. So the halachot of arachin applies to a person of any age beyond 30 days. The redemption of a woman firstborn son and a firstborn donkey applies even if the firstborn is questioned is already several years old. And one can vow to be a nazir for any length of time beyond 30 days. So it means you derive from this Braita that the firstborn donkey is not redeemed immediately, but only after 30 days. אומר רב נחמן, לעולם שאם בדאו פדוי, מכלל דבנו אם בדאו אינו פדוי, והיתמר הפודד בנו בתוך 30 יום. רב אמר בנו פדוי, if it's doing the 30 days, within 30 days of birth, Rav said his son is redeemed. Lav itmar Allah, the Gemara said, wasn't a state with regard to this matter that Rava says, אמר רבא דכולי עלמא מעכשיו, from now, and bno padui, his son, is not redeemed, because the all effectiveness of this type of redemption, only if he gave the money on condition that the redemption will take effect after his son turns the 30 yom, the 30 days old. Team, Rav Sheshet אמר לומר שאינו עובר עליו. So Rav Sheshet hold that when it's come to the mitzvah of redeeming the first born donkey, takes effect immediately after it's born. And the second Braita, which state that it's applied only after 30 days, means to say until that time one does not transgress the prohibition if it's not yet performed the redemption. After 30 days, though, one transgresses the prohibition if he still is not redeemed his firstborn donkey. מטיב רמי בר חמא מצוותו כל 30 יום, מכאן ואילך הוא פודהו או עורפו. מה אליו מצווה לשוטו כל 30 יום? לה. מצווה לפדותו, the mitzvah is to redeem it throughout the period of כל 30 יום, to a period of 30 days, and after that point, one has transgressed a prohibition. יאחי, the Gemara asks, if so, מכאן ואילך הוא פודהו או עובר עליו מבעלה? אלא אמר רבא לא קשיא, רבי אליעזר דמקשיא, רבנן דלא מקשיא. Now we go to the last Mishnah of this פרק, לא רצה לבדותו עורפו מאחוריו וקוברו. מצוות הבדיעה קודמת למצוות עריפה, שנאמר אם לא תבדה וערפתו. מצוות יעידה קודמת למצוות הבדיעה, שנאמר אשר לא יעדה והבדה. מצוות הייבום קודמת למצוות חליצה. בראשונה שהיו מתכוונים לשם מצווה, ועכשיו שאין מתכוונים לשם מצווה, אמרו מצוות חליצה, קודם למצוות ייבום. מצוות הגאולה באדון הוא קודם לכל אדם, שנאמר, ואם לא יגאל ונמכר בערכך, הדרן הלך, הלוקח ובר חמורו.